Welcome to Roots and Ruminants, your podcast for creative and innovative use of farm, pasture, and rangeland. We're going back to the basics of raising and grazing livestock, growing your own forage, and practical land use.
All right, I think we're recording. We're off and started with the first video action of the Roots and Ruminants podcast. So Jared and I are actually we're committing a little bit more time to do this. We're gonna have a few more frequent podcasts come out. So we're still gonna be in line with having our guests once a month, but in between those guests, we're gonna do a few more what we've called the ruminations. And so we've got some awesome topics built out here through the end of the year and into the first of the year, 2024. So we're excited to put a little bit more effort to this, and really it's because of the popular demand.
We appreciate all the Rudies and Roomies out there, all of our fan base that has continued to tune in every month and download our episodes and listen all the way through and give us great feedback on what we can do more of. And so, yeah, we're excited to add a different functionality and a little bit more intensity as we approach the fall season. So this is just kind of an update, kind of a mid-month here update in between our regular guest programs to talk about some timely subjects that are happening on farms and ranches in our neck of the woods today.
And the best part of it is you're probably going to see our personality just a little bit more. Jared's for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Yeah.
So we were talking yesterday. We are in the heat of silage shopping, especially in eastern South Dakota, Minnesota, Iowa. I mean, everybody's rolling. And so I think it's probably a pretty pertinent place to start the podcast today, is just talking about what's going on with that. We certainly get a lot of calls about sorghum silage, chopping those acres and the how-tos and all that. But yeah, Jared, you said you're just a little bit away from chopping corn silage. You're a little bit wetter.
We're a little bit wetter, but we're still going. And so there's some hail damage stuff that probably needs to go sooner rather than later. So I think we might be going tomorrow or Friday, Saturday, somewhere in there. So, yeah. Just going to hit right smack dab on the South Dakota State Fair. So anyway, we're going to try and take some livestock down tonight, and then I might have to come back and drive a truck. Because it seems like, like there's major transition on almost every farm in the last 20 years where you went from, you did your own silage, which was like a week, 2-week, month-long affair for some people with the, pull-type cutters, wagons, every neighbor, every, family member had to get involved to do it, to now, like in a lot of beef cow operations, even if you're cutting 100 acres or 120 acres, it's a one-day deal, right? Someone comes in an afternoon or a day, it's done, sometimes 2 days, but it's a lot faster. So, but now the people that did the custom work initially that had crews are now like losing their crews. Everybody's getting older, kids moving away, that kind of stuff. And so now like you have to participate in your custom crew. And so you can't get a custom crew unless you can provide like 2 or 3 drivers and a packer. And so now they're like, okay, now we're just hiring a machine now and driving all the equipment. So we also can't get silage chopped unless we're an active participant. Well, I'm not complaining at all. Like I don't want to go back to like 3 weeks, 4 weeks of chopping corn silage by any means, but it is, come a little bit full circle from where it was completely hands off, and now it's more of like a team effort. So
yeah, you see that for sure. Yeah. Our team effort actually is more. So we bag our silage at our place, and so we run them in 200-ton bags, the 9-foot bag, and so that crew brings the chopper and a bagger and the wagons, but you provide the labor for the tractors, and the tractors. So a little bit different, but kind of the same sort of thing. It's like if you're going to chop, you get a chopper in, but you probably have to help haul. But it went good. We got her done yesterday. We had planned on doing 2 bags, 400 ton, and we had 2 fields designated for it, and we were about 20 tons short of filling both bags. So when it works out like that, that's pretty cool.
20 tons short. Huh.
I'm filling the bags full,
Oh, the bags. Yeah. It was like you're like spot on.
Yeah. That doesn't usually.
Nice. That's good. Yeah, so we'll be chopping. Not very good. Like, what are they? Did you get it adjusted yet?
I don't even want to say it because I'm kind of embarrassed.
No, it's fine. Like, I'll say ours. The dairy came in and did some of the stuff over east by Will Lake Bryant, and it's only going to be, I guess, adjusted like 230. So
Yeah.
it's not great. I'm just kidding. It's really good. It's like super good over there, and then out
Yeah.
by our place in the west, between the hail damage and the drought, there's a lot of 20 bushel stuff. So it's
Yeah.
in a 12-mile lateral like move east to west, which is completely predictable almost every year. Will Lake is at 220 to 230, and Carpenter is 20 to 30. It's only 200 bushels difference in 12 miles. This happens all the time, like every couple of years.
Yeah. The two fields were adjusted. One was at 160 and the other was at 126.
Yeah,
So
that's a Minnesota failure, not a South Dakota
that's a big failure. But it somehow did. I was figuring out it somehow did like
failure.
just a little over 17 ton per acre for silage.
Okay.
So I
That's
mean,
pretty good
and that's what I thought.
for
Yeah.
that 120 yield. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Huh.
But, all right. So
Excellent.
one of the things that we're going to start, I think we should just go into this. One of the things that we're going to start doing on every podcast, we'll do this with our guests too, is we're going to play a little game. It's called Graze It, Harvest It, or Rent It Out.
Yeah.
All right. So I'm going to
Yeah.
say the scenario to you, and then you have to choose whether this field you're going to graze it or harvest it, chop it, bale it, depending on what the scenario is, or you're like, no, forget it. I'm just going to rent it out. It's somebody else's problem. Okay.
Okay.
So what we want is we want guests sending these in. Okay, so
Yep.
this is going to be the first trial run on it, but you guys got to get creative as guests to start sending these in. Okay, and Jared's got some ideas for different management of land too, and we're going to throw those in as far as like what are the best opportunities for this piece of land that maybe come up for sale. Do you want to farm it yourself? Do you want to enroll it into some different programs? And so we'll play that game with this same type of scenario. Okay. All right. So you're ready for the three fields?
Yeah. I am.
Okay. So field number one. This is a cornfield,
Okay.
but you were just hit by a derecho. Your field corn
Okay.
is flat, 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 flat. But you had a bumper crop coming. I mean, this is 250 bushel corn, but it's all laying on the ground.
Huh.
Okay. Field number two. You got a field of forage sorghum, but it's grass green. It's really immature, but the silage crew is in your neighborhood and they say it's now or never. We're not coming back. So you chop it tomorrow, grass green, immature. You know that your pile is going to be soppy, soupy, wet. Okay. Field number
Okay.
three. You've got 3 foot tall, drought stricken corn. Okay. Estimated yield of about 70 bushels per acre. And it's 95 degrees and you're losing moisture every day. And you can't get a silage chopping crew to come in for another 10 days.
Okay. Okay. Okay.
So you have to
All
graze
right.
one, you have to harvest one, and you have to rent one out.
Okay. Um, I'm gonna rent out. I'm gonna rent out the derecho corn.
Not dealing with it,
Can't
huh?
graze it. I'm not gonna deal with it. I can't. I'd rather put that sorghum through, you know, go 1 mile an hour with a swather, and try and get it laid down and pick it up in a couple days with the chopping crew than I would to try and take that down stuff. You know what I mean? To pick it up. So
Okay.
I think I'm gonna X the derecho corn, even though it's got the most value. It's the
Yeah.
most problematic, and I don't think I can get it in a pile
Think of the
very
feeder
easily.
pigs you could buy and throw out there, though.
Oh gosh, yeah, I know, but like, okay, that's the one scenario I wasn't thinking about
Or
is the feeder pig
lambs,
scenario. The lambs.
or both.
I wouldn't do lambs. I wouldn't do lambs right now. I don't know. I don't trust the lamb market. It's just not giving us the good signals when the feeders are bringing less than the fats per pound. I
That's
don't know
the
what's going on there.
opportune time to buy.
I know, well, that's true. It's true. I wouldn't trust feeder lamb, but the feeder pig deal, that's pretty good. So new, I don't think we talked about this, but we recently our hog barns came up, our contracts up, and our current uh, people we were feeding for and have for 24 years wouldn't. We're not interested in renewing the contract, which is kind of interesting. It's a whole other story for another time. So we ended up working with a local independent outfit that's got a farrowing facility, and we're going to feed pigs for them. The feed's going to come from 6 miles away. It's going to be a better deal. So anyway, but I was looking at like, hey, I get really open market feeder pigs right now, and so I knew they were cheap, and so I went on the national weekly summary report for feeder pigs, and it's like $9.30 2 weeks ago. So a 10 to 12 pound isoine, mostly coming out of Manitoba, and there was like 60, 70,000 I think traded per week. So it's not a huge number, but it's not small. It's not nothing, right? That got traded, and it's been consistent the last few weeks. So I'm going. You can buy like a healthy-ish feeder pig for less than $10 a piece right now. That's isoines. Like the feeders that you'd want to put on that corn are going to be 55, 60 pounds or more, but they're like $35. They're nothing too. So then I was like, compare that to an 800 pound, like black hided, 900
Yeah.
pound, grass tier coming off. That's going to bring $2,500 almost, right? Like 2,500 bucks. So the ratio was for every 900 pound feeder steer that you bought, you could buy 231 feeder pigs for the same money. So one feeder steer or 231 feeder pigs. And that was the most telling thing that I could think of to explain to people that maybe the feeder market is like, I'm not
Inflated a
saying
little
it
bit.
couldn't go up, but it's pretty high. It's pretty high. Like you should look maybe like LARPing some stuff. But anyway.
Yeah.
So, but you can't put those out there. So you can put feeder pigs out in the derecho corn, but that's I don't know. It's not my gig. You got to worry about chain space. You got to do one-off contracts. Like I don't want to be in the open market feeder like fat hog, lean hog market with a couple thousand head. Um, you know what I mean? I just don't.
Isn't
It's
that
not my.
funny how like that has shifted too? No longer can you just enter a market like that because you're
I
not in
know.
a contract. That
Like you don't
sucks.
know if you can get rid of them.
Yeah.
Like whoever thought that was going to be concerned? Like, oh, I don't know if anybody would want pigs. Like it's the most widely consumed protein on the planet, and like, oh, who would want that? You know,
Yeah. Where
it's
am
not
I
really
gonna
a
find a
niche
market?
market. It's just hard to
Yeah.
be a niche in that market.
Hmm.
So, okay, all right, okay. So that's the duration core I'm going to get rid of. I'm back to this. This
Yep.
is going to take the whole episode for us to answer this question, right? Um, then I'm gonna chop that sorghum, but I'm gonna say I'm gonna put it down first. I'm gonna cheat, and I'm gonna say
Yeah.
I'm in South Dakota. All of our choppers have pickup heads. I've got
Really?
5 neighbors with swathers. Yeah, oh
All
yeah,
right.
I can get
Okay.
that picked up. I'm gonna pick it up. I know it's gonna be a pain to get it swapped, but as long as it's not lodgy, I don't care how green it is. We'll put it down for a day or two. We're gonna get that sorghum put up like primo, just right. And I'm gonna graze the drought-stricken corn
Hmm.
and we're going to test it for nitrates, and it's going to come back too high. And my nutritionists are going to say the nitrates are so high the cattle are going to die, and we're going to graze it anyway, and they're probably not going to die. It's been
You're gonna put your
my
three thousand
experience with
dollar
high
bred heifers on
nitrates.
that high nitrate corn, and they're all gonna
I don't know if I'll put
abort.
bred heifers on there. Well, yeah, I might put some cows out there, maybe early wean some calves because our
Oh,
pasture's
your
pretty
bred
tight.
cows.
Cows out
So
there.
put your $2,500
Well,
bred cows on the high nitrate
what are you
corn.
going to put out there? Nitrate resistant,
Um,
like genetically modified nitrate resistant katahdins, or what do you have? What do you going to do with
can't kill them.
it? No, and I'm not belittling nitrate poisoning, but it does seem like that the metrics that we get for what is toxic for nitrates seems to be a little higher than what we see in reality.
Yeah, I think that's
But
kind
I'm
of
not
true,
saying
actually.
it's not nothing either. I'm just saying we can
Yeah,
push a little farther. It seems like you can.
yeah, yeah.
Okay, so that's my
Okay.
answer. I'm gonna chop that sorghum, but I'm gonna use a pickup head. I'm gonna use a cheat code
Yeah.
there. South Dakota cheat code swather. Because I got a lot of oats produced in my area, so we're gonna swap that.
Hmm.
And then I'm gonna graze the drop corn. What are you gonna do?
Okay. Yeah, interesting. Um, I was gonna. I mean, I guess my first thought was, all right, I got that green lush sorghum silage sorghum or forage sorghum standing out there. I'm gonna graze that. Like it's probably right in terms of something that's very easily grazed. It's a healthy plant. I'm
Mhm.
not gonna have to worry about anything. So I'm gonna go graze that. And then I'm going to chop that drought stricken corn. Know that it's
Okay.
just pretty poor stuff. If I've got nitrates in it, it's just the way it is. I can dilute it out when I feed it. And then I'm gonna rent out the derecho
Hmm.
corn, the flat stuff, and somebody
Yep.
else can
Yep.
disc under all the corn or do something else with it.
Yep. Yep. Yeah. I just have had. in the past with eardrop and things, like tons and tons of surplus corn in a cornfield to try and graze it is just can be. I would be more worried about that than I would be the nitrates in the drought corn from a
Yeah, you
grazing
might have
standpoint.
a few long-toed cows next year.
Right. Right. Yep. And I actually think that, we've had so much in times, like seen so much corn out there, there's not enough residue to go with the corn. So it's almost like an unbalanced diet. Like the cattle like initially put on a lot of weight, then after a while, like they're not even putting on weight anymore. They're just eating straight corn and not enough roughage. But
Just turn on a bunch of 1,300-pound steers on there and just let them roll.
there you go. Let them roll. Okay. That's my answer.
Okay. Well, that's good. That's fun. So we're gonna do that every episode now. So if you
Yep.
guys have ideas, send them in, and then we'll use
Give
them
us
and we'll talk through them.
scenarios.
Yep.
Yeah, give us 3 scenarios and let us put them in order.
Yep. That'll be great.
I've got one for next time I just thought of already, so
Really?
I won't spoil it.
God, I kind of want to do it now. Could we do 2 this episode?
Let's just do it now. Let's give people extra ideas. Okay. So,
Like that's the only
uh,
that's what this podcast is about now.
yep.
It's the
So
Graze and Harvest and Rented Out podcast.
I'm going to give you a scenario, and then you're going to tell me how you manage that scenario
Okay.
as a landowner, given those three. You know what I mean? So like you have to give me your 3 scenarios of how you would handle this as a rental, as a chop it, or as a graze it. Okay. Right?
Okay.
So like you have to do all 3 scenarios. Does that make sense? It's like the
Yeah.
same kind of option.
Are we doing
You
this now, or are we gonna do this next?
We're doing it right now. We're doing it right now.
Okay.
So this is last year. You have 480 acres, 3/4 of land that's 18 miles away from your house. It's like your farthest away stuff. Like
I
that
feel
you
like I should be
farm.
taking notes on this. These are detailed.
No, it's okay. It's not going to be too complicated.
All right.
Anyway, 480 acres in last year, and you don't get so much rain that it's just impossible, but you just could not get it planted. Like you could not get it planted. Like, and it's like the 14th of June, the harvest price is pretty high. You don't know what fall is going to look like, and you just decide that it's going to get punted, and like those 3/4 are just going to go prevent plant this year. So now it's the 16th of June, and you're committed to the prevent plant route. You've got 3/4 of land in the James River Valley. What are you going to do with it? So you got to rent one, and how do you make that arrangement? You got to like chop one, and you got to graze one. What are you doing in those 3 scenarios? 3/4 of land. Pick what you're going to do with each 3/4.
I get it. Okay. Okay. So the quarter that I'm going to graze
Mhm.
is the easiest. What did
Yep.
you say? It was the middle of June?
Yeah, it's middle of June. It's June 16th. It's a brand new day.
Yeah.
You're committed to this path. You've been mentally in anguish for a month and a half, trying to get in the field. Can't do
Yep.
it. But now, like, you're
Yeah.
past that. And the whole
Okay.
summer's opened up, and it's drying out. It's drying
Yeah.
out now,
Yeah.
right? You're gonna get in the field the next week to 10 days for sure.
Okay. So if I'm grazing this field, I'm planting the ranch hand. That's what I'm
Okay.
doing. So
Okay.
we're gonna do it's got some oats, it's got some sorghum sudan, it's got some millet, a bunch of brassicas, forage collards, and turnips, plus like some sunflowers in there and flax. So it's a diverse mix. Timing's right. It's rolling into summer, so we've got some warm and cool season species in there. Then I'm gonna come in there and I'm gonna graze it as soon as I want, but that's probably gonna happen about 65 days after I plant it. And then I could probably get 2 grazings on it, something like that too. So I can graze it once late summer, let it rest in the month of September, then come graze the aftermath in October, November. So that's how I'm going to graze it and what I'm going to do from grazing it. If I'm going to rent it and it's June, I'm going to plant like, you know what I'm going to plant? I'm going to plant buckwheat. And
Really?
I'm going to plant buckwheat. We got plenty of time for buckwheat still. There seems to be a market for buckwheat seed right now, as well as like
the buzzer,
what?
buzzer.
Why?
If
No.
you harvest it for seed, you're gonna lose the prevent plant payment.
Oh crap! Wait, what about
Yeah,
feet? Like,
sorry.
but if I
You can
if I
chop it.
combine
You can do
buckwheat,
whatever you want with it. Biomass. Yep.
I can sell it not for
Can't
seed. I can't sell it as anything?
You can't collect the seeds or grain specifically. Like you can't combine a prevent plant with the prevent plant rules. You can do anything
Oh
whole
yeah.
plant, but
Oh
you
yeah.
cannot, even if you're just going to feed it. Like even if you're just going to feed it to livestock, because otherwise people will plant corn out
Yep.
there and then like, oh, I went and combined my corn, but it's feed, it's okay, you know?
Yep. Ooh.
Okay,
Okay.
so like good
So my
idea,
harvested.
but you're gonna
Yeah, I
now you
forego
could
my
flex it.
TV again.
Like and like if the buckwheat market goes way up, you could say forget my prevent plant payment. I've got $800 for the buckwheat out here. I'm going to go combine it anyway. And if the market's
Mm.
not there, the crop doesn't look good, you could always hay the buckwheat
Okay.
because people forget
Nope.
that buckwheat was initially a forage.
I have a new answer for my harvested strategy.
Okay.
For the quarter I'm
Okay.
going to harvest, I'm planting Japanese millet,
Yep.
and then I'm doing just
Okay.
that.
So,
It looks like a pretty good seed harvest. I'm gonna combine that
yep.
sucker, and if not, I'm gonna hay
I
it.
think
And
we
I want to
should.
got hay.
I think we should rename Japanese millet James River millet because
Yeah,
it's
it
so
kind of
well
fits her,
adapted to
doesn't
the
it?
James River Valley, South Dakota, North Dakota. Just loves it
Yep.
there.
Yep.
Goes into water. Does pretty good in alkali.
Mm-hmm.
It's a good crop there.
Makes lots of hay.
Yep.
But
So you're
so
gonna
the
hay
rented
that.
out one, like, what do I don't understand how I would.
Okay, here's how you're gonna do it. Let's say you have like 50 cows, right? And you don't have like a great hay market, so like you don't have like you put up a quarter of Japanese millet and you've got hay for years, right? You got like 3 years carryover Japanese millet, like more than you can handle anyway, right? So then your third quarter, you're like, well, I don't need any more grazing and I don't need any more hay. So like let me work with somebody. So I'm down the road and I'm like, hey, I could use some feed. I don't have any acres to put alternative feeds on. So I'm gonna come to you and you have to make a strategy with me where you get something out of what I do, but you can't really re-rent it to me from a cash standpoint through the
Oh,
FSA office because of the whole dynamic. And so we have to come up with like a trade, right?
okay, I understand.
And I'm like
So
three
it's
miles
not.
down the road.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's not a true just. Yeah, you can rent it out and that's it. That you're
Right.
not really
Right.
done with it, nor do you get the full value. Yeah. So okay,
Right.
what would be a
So I
good?
need to get something that I want, and you need to get something that you want that you don't have already, right? So you've already got Japanese millet. Not I wouldn't call it coarse hay, but I wouldn't call it like, the finest stuff either. Like you need to get like some like quality hay to go with yours on a cut. Like you need to get like a third of the hay because you're the landowner. And I'm gonna come in and say like I'm gonna come in and say, do you want me to do teff grass? Do you want me to do
Yeah,
something else? Like what else can I do that's gonna get me some feed and you the kind of feed that you don't already have?
that's where I was. My mind was
You know
going
what I'm
with
saying?
the teff grass.
Yeah.
And that's a good deal
Okay.
for me
Yep.
because it's a little bit riskier crop, but if somebody gets a great
Yeah.
stand and puts up feed and I make
Hmm.
a deal to get a percentage of that, then I get that percentage no matter what. So then I got my high quality feed that I needed.
Yep. Well, then same thing. So I'm gonna come in. I'm not. There's no cash transaction. I'm gonna buy seed and put it in the ground, and I'm gonna get 2/3 of the hay if it works, right? And if it
Hmm.
doesn't, then I'm out. Like, what's teff grass cost per pound? Two and a half.
Yeah, 250 a pound. Yeah, $25 an acre.
Yeah. Yeah. That's a 10 pounds. That's plenty, right? I could
Hmm.
go eight. If I got my drill set right, I'll put eight down, right? But I probably won't. Then I'll overseed and it'll be 10.
Yeah,
So I got $20 an acre into this. If it turns out, it turns out. If not, I put a down payment on a bunch of hay that I never got to see go through. So
yeah.
okay, that's another way to play the game. You know,
That is another way to play the game. We
you can
should
do it
have
both
two different
ways.
games to play like that.
Should so you can
Yep.
give us a scenario, folks, that you'd like to see played out three different ways, or you can give us three options and then have us pick how we handle
Yeah,
those scenarios. That's the three
I like
different
it.
ways that you can submit.
Yep. And
Okay.
if you're going to submit something, email it to us
Yes.
at
Well, how else? Like
Justin
they can't call
at,
us live on the podcast. Like these aren't live. Like you can't call us while we're talking as you're listening at 9 o'clock at night and like our phones. You cannot get onto the podcast that way.
no.
People have tried.
Okay, here's what you email in though. email it to my address, justinf@millbornseeds.com. And then we'll read them and we'll play them. And then maybe we'll call you. We could do that.
We have called people on the podcast before.
Yeah.
We can call you on the podcast. You just
There we
can't
go.
call us because you don't
I
know
like
when
it.
we're doing it.
Yep. It's a great idea.
But yeah, if you submit, and we could call you and see if we're doing it right. Give us your answer. Give our answers to you as you're doing
Yeah.
it.
Okay,
Okay.
so next week, so it's Fair Week, right? South Dakota State Fair is coming up this weekend. Are you headed over with your family?
Yes, for sure.
You good?
Yep. Yep. Got some sheep, some breeding sheep to go down for the girls. They're going to do presentations. Millie's doing a presentation about a range bouquet of wildflowers and grasses from our seeding that she's presenting
Nice.
and going through different species. So we did that till 10:30 last night. So that was a great moment as a family
Mm.
to work on that late into the night.
Somebody asked, actually, it was Krista has asked, proposed this question to me last night. She's like, well, yesterday at the doctor, they asked me what we really like about going to the state fair. We go up to Minnesota State Fair. We just came back Sunday. And she's like, so why do we like it? I'm like, oh, good question. Like we keep going back, but it's just a rat race of people, and it's a high stress environment. I was like, okay, why do we like it? And Mason's standing right there, and he goes, oh, the people watching. He's like, all the fishnet stockings and the crazy haired people, and like, I'm like, okay, yeah, maybe that is true. Maybe we like actually enjoy watching the crazies go by, which is true. But then like the other part of it is, uh, I think people are naturally attracted to things that were a struggle and they got through, right? Like, so moving in livestock, it was 100 degrees that Wednesday we moved in, and you have to just, it's just a, you're waiting in line and you're impatient and everybody's crabby, and then you're trying to get livestock cooled down. So that part sucked. And then when you get out, you are, you're, it's just a mass of people that you have to try to push through. And so you're driving your truck and trailer and you got people hollering to say, get out of the way, get out of the way. And like you're trying to split these masses of people to then drive down the roads because they don't close down the roads when you're leaving on Wednesday afternoon at 1 o'clock. So
That's
there's
insane.
something about going through something hard and then getting through it that it's kind of fun. And you want to go do it again. And of course, the
Yeah.
competition is awesome too. And I think that's probably part that you like too. Like anytime competition is good, you succeed. It's fun. You want more of it.
Yeah.
I like fair season.
No, I hear you. That makes sense, but it does make me wonder. I mean, we're only like 35 miles away from Huron, like where we stay, and everybody that's in South Dakota that goes to South Dakota State Fair knows it takes an act of Congress to get a camping spot on the grounds anymore. And so like we were at gate 13 and my parents have on the far southeast part of the fair, and we were like walking the kids a couple years ago. We had a camper out there. We're walking the kids back. They were young. Like I was carrying one, two were in one was in a stroller. One was walking, but like fighting it the whole time. And I told Katie, it's like from where we are, we could drive to our house and sleep in our bed faster than we could walk from my parents' like from my parents' camper. We could walk to where we could park a car and get home in 30 minutes and sleep in our own bed faster than we can get to the far end of the campground to our camper, where we still have to like set up and think like, what are we doing? It's a half an hour away. Like, why are we setting up a camper? Like going through all the motion stuff. But yeah, it's like it's the thing, right? You
Yeah.
set out to do something fun and challenging together, and then as the kids get older, it's like, oh, it's all about it. So when I went to the camper yesterday down, you saw all the just the effort that people take to like get their campers organized and situated and like positioned just right, which had to be like tons of backing up and getting bored, like that kind of stuff, or like up on blocks and all this kind of stuff that people have just to set up a camper less than an hour away from where they probably live, like permanently, for like a 5 day stretch. So yeah, sometimes that's what hobbies are, right? It's just like it's setting yourself to do something challenging that is separate from your living almost, So
But still
it's a
tied
hobby.
to it pretty
It's tied
directly.
to it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's true. That's true.
Especially in this world. But that's what's
Yeah.
pretty cool about the egg industry and the fairs and all that comes with it. It
Yeah.
is a great reunion. Ah, how about that?
Yeah. but totally different than Minnesota State Fair. I can't imagine
Oh, it's completely
loading
different. Yeah.
sheep in. Like we have to go bring sheep tonight, and we're like, whatever. Like we'll just go. My brother's got the health papers, and because he's a veterinarian, and so like I'm just like, just call me when you leave your place. I'll leave my place. We'll get there about the same time. We'll like park on the side of the road right outside the fairgrounds until you get there for 5 minutes, and then we'll drive in. Like that's
Yeah.
unloading the South Dakota
Yeah.
State Fair. It's like no big deal.
Yeah.
Probably can't do that quite that way at Minnesota.
Yeah, no, people leave in the middle of the night to try to get there early in the morning, but
Yeah.
actually it backfires because now everybody tries to do that. So they'll get there. You can start unloading at 2 a.m. So people are in line at 1:30. Well, then everybody's in line. And so people literally, and this happened this year because it was so hot, people were trying to get in there at night. They waited an hour, hours, 2 or 3 hours in line and didn't get unloaded until 6, even though they're in line at 2 a.m.
Awful.
Silly. Awful. Yeah.
It's crazy. All right.
Okay, so
Well, I will have. Glad you enjoyed your fair. I will have fun at my fair.
yeah.
Yep, get together here again soon.
Yep. We'll get back on. We'll follow up with some things to look to do after silage. So we're into it now. We're chopping. And then next week we'll talk about what we can do after that for some options as far as forage goes, grazing mixes and stuff like that.
Yep,
Maybe do a little
I'll have a
fair
full
recap
report.
too. Talk about our
Fair
favorite
recap, and
foods. Huh?
yeah, I'll give a full recap on what we're doing on Silage Acres here afterwards, and what we're
Yeah,
hoping to get out of it, and why.
me as
So,
well.
okay,
Okay. Perfect.
thanks everybody. Talk next time.
All right. See ya.